Becky Amio here from Blunt, South Dakota. I'm on a roll today with videos. Gonna talk to you this time about ground seat and a little bit more about the bars and some of the questions I ask when I call these different saddle companies. So Mark Jones with True Partner Saddlery sent me out this skeleton tree to try, and he's been a wealth of information. And if he doesn't know it, he knows a place to direct me to find the answers. So he put a ground seat in this tree for me and sent it out for me to try on this sorrel mare. And one thing I wanted to show you about this ground seat is when you get these factory trees that are made in Pakistan and China, they come with usually a fiberglass ground seat already on them. Some of these higher end saddle makers are gonna put a leather ground seat in them, and then some of these guys are putting a metal tin, it's called a metal tin strainer ground seat in them. I would wager to say that this tin strainer is gonna give you a little bit more strength to your tree, okay? And the other thing is after several hours and several miles of use, you know, your seat's gonna break down a little bit and the leather's gonna compress a little bit, and that tin strainer in there is gonna prevent some of that compression. Okay, so some of the higher end saddle makers that do all leather and they skive it to fit our anatomy, those guys are gonna be really expensive. You're gonna be on a waiting list for a long time for those guys. But if you've ridden in a ground seat or in a saddle that was uncomfortable, this is why, okay? The woman's anatomy is so much different than a man's. Our seat bones really put some indentions in these saddles, and I don't know if you've ever rolled across your own seat bone in the winter in a hard seat saddle, but it hurts. So one of the questions that I ask saddle companies when I call is what's in their ground seat and what kind of padding do they use in the seat of their saddle. And some have told me we don't use anything for padding. People just like to get on, ride hard, ride fast, but I tell you what, I spend the entire day in the saddle. I want a padded seat. And then I've asked other companies what kind of padding they use, and they tell me, oh, we've never had any problems, we've been using it for years. And the reason I tell them is because I'm from South Dakota. I ride in, I don't know, I've ridden as cold as about 6 degrees, and there are folks here that'll go out and ride in -20 if they gotta go bring their cows in. And let me tell you, when a guy is using a memory foam padded seat, that memory foam isn't rated to -20. It's not rated to 30 degrees. And it gets hard and it never warms up to your butt no matter how much you're sitting in the saddle or how long. The other thing are these companies that are starting to use the foam padding on the underside, you know, for the horse. Well, I ask them what kind of foam padding it is. They can't tell me. They can't tell me what it's rated to. So what does a guy down in Texas do when it gets really hot and that foam fails after 85 degrees, 90 degrees? What does it do here in South Dakota? What does it do in North Dakota? What does it do in Canada at those low temperatures? I don't know, and they can't tell me. So that's just a couple of questions that I ask when I call a saddle company. Another question that I ask is what kind of bars do they have? I don't even bother going into angles of bars. I ask them what kind of bars. And something I didn't cover in my last video is the length of bars on this particular saddle is a 21 inch. The reason that's important is because when we have short-backed horses, we want as short of a length of bar as we can possibly get. Now on barrel saddles for those little teeny gals, 13.5 inch, all the way up to possibly a 15 inch, they can put that seat on a 20 inch bar. So if you have a short-backed horse, they can get it done for you, okay? Now the other thing that I ask about these bars is if they're Northwestern bars or Arizona bars. Some people have no idea what I'm talking about when I ask. And this took a little bit of research on rodnickel.com, and again, Mark Jones shared some of this information with me. But do you see how there's some indentation there in this bar? So that stirrup leather can lay flat, okay?
Move that stirrup out of the way. Other one.
Okay, you see the indentation? Okay, it has the same indentation a little bit on this side as well. There's just a little bit of a relief there, okay? So that stirrup leather sits flush underneath our leg, and on this side, it's gonna sit flush on the horse's back. Okay, the reason for this is because they have proof and studies have shown that when they've pulled apart a very well-used saddle, they have found there to be pressure points right in this area from these fenders being a high pressure point on a horse's back because there's no relief in those bars, okay? Now, when I call these companies, they say, we don't mess with it. It makes the tree weaker by doing that. I call BS on it because with the technology that's out there today, they can do that and they can fiberglass coat that tree a couple of times and they can keep that tree just as strong to go rope on. I think it's a matter of not wanting to take the time. I think it's a matter of keeping their costs down. And I think it's a matter of it being a technical thing. And when you have a company in China, Pakistan, wherever, making your trees, and these people have never seen a horse, let alone ever ridden one, you know, they don't know what the hell they're making. They're just making a pattern. You know, they don't know. So that's kind of questions that I ask, and like I said, most of the companies that I call have no idea what I'm talking about, or they don't know the answer. The custom guys that I've called, they know, they get it, they've answered my questions. So then the next thing I'll talk to you about is these stirrup leathers. You know, a lot of people talk about forward hung fenders, or free swing fenders is another one. And then what I like to ride in personally is a balanced ride fender. Now, when you flip up the jockey, okay, so the next piece of leather that would go over top of this, when you flip up that jockey and you look up underneath at your tree, if you have a full entire bar that's showing, that's where you're gonna get a whole lot of swing, I think, in this fender. And if you're one of those barrel racers that really likes to swing that leg up and around when you're coming around a barrel, or you're a roper that really likes to put their legs back, hey, those trees are perfect for you. Those saddles are great. Me personally, I don't like any movement backwards. I prefer, now in a balanced ride fender, there's a swivel right here. Your fender hangs right there. It goes into a V and then comes back up around your tree. There's two different places to adjust it, okay? Now, the Martha Josie Ultimate has it. There's a couple other companies that have it. The Martha Josie one goes back to about right here is where their swivel is, so it's kind of a counterfeit balance ride. Phallus Saddlery has a true balance ride. And any knowledgeable saddle maker is going to be able to make that fender forward for you if that's what you truly want. What I have found in my experimenting over the last several months is that if your ground seat is put in properly and your seat size is proper for you, you're not going to get the swing back effect as much. You'll still be able to be effective with your legs, but you're not going to lose your balance. So when you stand up in your saddle, when you're trying saddles, if you can stand up in your saddle and balance without holding onto the horn or grabbing the horn, even when it's just on the saddle rack, that's going to be a stirrup that's better hung, better placed for you. So that's just a couple things to keep in mind when you're picking out and choosing your saddle. So that's all I'm going to cover for right now. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like this video, give it a thumbs up anyway. And you guys can follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and you can check out my website, BeckyMillHorseTraining.com. And, you know, please leave a bunch of comments. I'd like to discuss more with you guys. Thanks.